Welcome, friends, to episode 264 of Color Magic, your magic and gaming podcast, where we talk about all types of issues that affect gamers at and away from their gaming tables and computers. I'm your host, PowrDragn, and man, I hope your weather is better than mine down there because I still got my main man, hopefully not getting wet like I am. Brian Sionic, how's it going, dude?
Going well. No major. Well, I mean, I have some complaints, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, there's a few. This is a weird week though. There's
Yeah,
some good news and some complaints that we get to talk
yeah.
about, so it's going to be a fun one. Yeah, if you want to support the show, like always, you can go over to patreon.com/color of magic and you can get a shout out just like James Matthew for being a patron. Thank you very much, James. And man, for also note, some people now, I guess, are on the what do they call first of the month billing or something now that just changed over on Patreon. So be sure to
Yeah.
your subscriptions, be sure how it's going to pull out now, especially if you're on Apple. There's a whole thing. So just be aware of that if you are supporting people on Patreon. But we appreciate all of you just the same. But yeah, man, let's get into this lead story because this is kind of interesting. Talk about Magic Foundations here, right? When first got announced, and I would say even up until mid October, there was a lot of trepidation, I guess is the right word, from retailers on, I only have a handful of pre orders. I don't know how people are going to respond to this. It also was only 8 or 9 weeks after, I think 8 weeks, 9 weeks after the previous set had released, and that was a thing. There was all these concerns, but then we get to this past weekend where everybody went to pre releases and stuff, and it turns out this is one of the hottest selling things that they've had in a while. So this puts me in the head frame of asking a lot of questions. Like, first, nostalgia is a hell of a drug,
Yeah.
right? Like, they put a lot of elves, dragons, birds, all these popular creature types in there that got people excited. Old familiar planeswalkers that people recognize.
Right.
It's like nostalgia, man. Like, we talk a
It's
lot about.
Magic. Magic the Gathering. Greatest hits. Now for.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what it was for a lot of people. But it checks a lot of boxes, right? If you hadn't played in a long time and you kind of see some ads or whatever, you're like, oh, I know that card, or oh, that's cool. That's going to be in standard,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I like playing this type of deck. Or, you play something like Pirates that hadn't gotten a couple of cards in a minute, and there's three new
Ooh,
pirate
yeah.
cards that help your deck. It's like, oh, well, now I'm interested. I got to buy this so I can fix up this deck I like. I also think that this set is a good plant to have going forward for the next couple of years because they're talking about introducing more universes beyond sets, but you want stuff to still look and feel like Magic.
Yeah.
Well, if you have this set that everybody's buying and they're excited about, and you can build off of that because they're building sets right now knowing that foundations exist, right? So if you always have that in mind, some significant portion of these decks will always look like Magic, unless it's specifically like, I don't know, let's say we get to the X-Men set and you're building around all the X-Men and mutants or something, obviously. But generally, they will still look like Magic, which is important. But again, we have these conversations of Wizards is printing too many cards and there's too many Magic sets and they come out too fast. But then every retailer I'm talking to is scrambling to get restocked on Monday. Well, Tuesday, because Monday was closed because of holiday.
Well, I mean, that
But
was like That's this.
Mhm.
Like last set was kind of the underperforming, right? Which I guess part of that was just the theme. I think was.
it was fine. I wouldn't say underperforming, but it wasn't gangbusters like we've been
I mean,
seeing.
you wouldn't, but a lot of people apparently are. Like I'm here to.
I mean, it's like a lot. It depends on where you set your expectations. I mean, if you're coming
Yeah.
off Bloomburrow and whatever Modern Horizons 3 and whatever, yeah, it's not going to be that. But it definitely wasn't Markov Manor or
Yeah.
whatever Karlov Manor, right?
And a lot of people, I think, talked about the tonal shift where, if we talk about, we used to do blocks. So where if you got one set full of bunnies, you'd have at least 2 to 3 sets full of bunnies. So a lot of people are like, ooh, bunnies, I like this. And the next set is 80s horror, which is complete, absolute tonal shift from everything.
But turns out that set also has a lot of cards that get played in different formats. So even though people didn't like the theme, they all went out and needed the cards. So it's just like, and maybe that's purposeful from Wizards' end of just like, we're not sure, so let's juice a few of the cards so people
Could
need to
be.
have these. That's possible. But yeah, I don't know what this really means, right? Because again, one of the phrases I've been using a lot lately is You can complain all you want, but if you do it while you hand over $100 bills, like,
Yeah.
and here it is, right? Where we have a set that we're going, it's too soon. The set's too big. Half of it's reprints. Like all these things of why people probably wouldn't want to go out and spend a lot on it, and they spend a crap ton on it. Like the exact opposite of what you expect would happen after all the complaints. And this is maybe it comes back to the same thing where we're talking about like all these people are upset at D&D and they're all going to move over to this other game, and then the new player's handbook comes out and it basically has record sales.
This might be part of the, 6-dimensional chess they're doing where, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of things that you might not like in terms of Universe and Beyond, but somebody who wouldn't even play a Magic will come in and decide they like that. Then we give you Foundation, which is going to be the thing for, as I said, greatest hits. This is where
Yeah,
the band plays all the things you like for the nostalgia. So maybe this is the plan. Because if anybody, like you said, anybody that was lapsed or didn't like the last couple of sets, but as you said, they love pirates or they love, insert other
dragons. Yeah,
dragons, Llanowar. Is Llanowar elf in here?
yeah.
Okay,
There's a
yeah.
bunch of elves in this set.
You like Llanowar elf, then okay. And I know definitely if I got that deck that I enjoyed playing, it's crazy that I've been here for 10 years or better now. But yeah, you're like, hey, I remember that thing. It's not Exemplar is it in here, brother. That's my card. Like that'll bring me
No, that
back no
one's
matter
not
how far.
actually.
Okay. Anytime Night Exemplar comes back, that's like, yeah, I put that deck back together. Boy, Night Exemplar, Night of Blade Hold, we had some good times.
Oh man, Hero Bladehold. Yeah, that
Yeah,
card. That card was good.
yeah.
I won some money in a Star City event with that card.
I bet
Actually,
you did. That
I
thing
think
was
there's still
just,
footage out there somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's a tough one. I obviously the collectors boosters and whatever in the set are selling out very fast. They're only going to have one printing, which is crazy because it's going to be a set that's standard legal for 5 years. So I assume all those cards are going to end up being worth a ton of money. I saw a ton of people on social media saying they were teaching friends with the starter sets and whatever, and people went to pre-releases for the first time, literally having just picked up Magic the day before after being shown by somebody because they're like, "Oh, well, we can go play with other people. I'll go down there on Sunday and go play," which is kind of bonkers. But hey, they did something right, I guess. So yeah, it's a weird time, man. Because like I said, if you ask people what Wizards shouldn't be doing to get people interested in the Magic set or get people to buy it. And again, from the retailer standpoint, I kind of understand the trepidation of just like, yeah, didn't have that many pre-orders. It's right on the back of another thing. People are a little tapped out. Hell, there was other sets that released that weekend from other games. I think
yeah.
like 4 or 5 of the major card games all had something released last weekend. And yet, Foundation still sold as well as it did.
And God forbid you play anything else, because as we're going to talk about, video game November is when the hot video games for the Christmas season start dropping. So
Yeah. But
everybody is competing for your entertainment. All the Christmas movies are about to start coming out. Everybody is coming at your money right now.
and somehow Magic still gets its money.
Yep.
That's what like it's hard to sit down with people when they say Wizards is destroying the game. They're doing everything wrong and whatever. Said you say that, but we're looking at things that shouldn't work, but somehow they are still selling millions of dollars worth of cards on an otherwise busy weekend with other options you can spend money on. They're doing something right. Like at some point, you just have to admit that they're doing something right, whether we like it or not. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that's it at the end of the day. I don't have to agree with the actions. You don't have to agree with the actions, but the bottom line says a bunch of people do agree with the actions and they're handing over money hand over fist.
And like we talked about, it's designed to turn over. They know most of
Mm-hmm.
us, well, the people like you and me that are still going to be here after 50 or 20 years are the exception. The majority of people are going to spend 4 or 5 years here, move on to the next thing anyway. So you gotta figure out how to replace those people. And right now, Universe and Beyond looks like the way that they replace those people.
And this is even crazier because I remember we were having this conversation almost around this time last year of, man, Lord of the Rings was so big and this, that, and there. Like, I don't know how they're going to beat 2023 or whatever. And here we are in 2024 going, man, this year's probably going to beat last year.
Yeah,
And then next year, 2025, we got 2 Universes Beyond sets with 2 huge licenses coming.
right.
And it's like, I don't know what you do for 2026 already.
Maybe
Like,
I mean maybe you get DC and hopefully, which is Warner Brothers we've talked about on here. It doesn't seem like they like making money, but because what else is bigger than Marvel? It's pretty much or as
Hell,
big.
at that point,
DC.
maybe you got to go try to get a Star Wars or a Star Trek or something. I mean, like,
Star Wars wouldn't be bigger than Marvel. I don't believe, especially with
maybe not.
recent.
I don't know. Like, but I'm thinking there's not that many big brands left. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's how you figure. Like we talk about what's next
which
after you
to
do
mhm.
DC, which hopefully you get DC. Yeah, you would, I think, at some point have to do Star Wars because the only thing close to how popular those things are. And then yeah, it feels like downward after that in terms of just
Well, I
big
did.
properties.
That's why I do think the idea of Wizards saying, "Hey, we signed a contract to do at least 3 sets of Marvel,"
Yeah,
was smart, right? So you can get the
and I would
most out of that
assume,
license without
and I would
having to worry about what replaces it that
yeah,
next year.
and I'd assume you do the same thing with DC if Warner Brothers are willing. But as we
Oh
started,
yeah, if they can get the license for sure.
Warner Brothers seems to hate money. They enjoy making movies and TV shows and not releasing them and doing a tax write off. So you got to work to convince Warner Brothers they could make money off of this.
And probably I would assume 2026-ish, like there's a possibility that we get the universes within master set. So some of these cards that have been printed over the last 4 years
Yeah,
or whatever, and these universes beyond things that are gonna need reprints at some point, you can now start shoving those big cards in one set, and that'll probably be an easy seller they could throw in there. So yeah, there's money, man. And Foundations, I think, hit all the right notes. We're seeing people coming back. Hell, there's been some Facebook groups. People have reached out to me. It's like, man, can you help me out with some standard stuff? Foundation looks really cool. I'm starting to pick it back up. I want to play some more. So like it definitely pulled people out of the woodwork and did what it was supposed to do. So all I can do is golf clap it. Like
right.
they earned it. But all right, after some positive news, let's go ahead and get into the soapbox a little bit. Because I don't think I've had a good rant about people on social media in a minute. And I got to say, one of the annoyances I've had over the last week is people like, let me just start by saying, we don't always need to be heard all the time.
What?
All of us as humans, we just don't, right? We need, like, sometimes, like Coach told us, don't hit send, right? Some
Right.
people, some people just don't need to hit send. But the reality is, I've seen multiple posts in the last week. Hell, I even had one over on Bluesky. I'm like, hey, I don't know that audience there yet. A bunch of people, and we're going to talk about that later on the show. But I have a bunch of people that migrated over there. So I'm like, you know what? I wonder how many of my Magic players came over happen to also be wrestling fans. So I just made a little post asking folks, and then somebody hops on and goes like, nope. Somebody replied like, that's stupid. I'm like, this ain't for you. I want to know who's an actual fan, so I know what percentage of my stuff to cater to for these people. Like, I wasn't asking you. That's like when somebody else who's a creator posts up something about cosplaying or something about makeup or whatever. I don't go make a post. I don't respond. It doesn't have nothing to do with me.
Right.
I ain't the person they're talking to. Like, why? Like, what possesses people for real to even want to put their 2 cents in? That would be like somebody going on, where are all my Philadelphia Eagles fans at? And then I get on and like, Eagles suck. Like, what's the point? Like, they ain't talking to me. I'm a
You
Cowboys
probably
fan.
would do that though, didn't you? You've
Nah,
done that
I
before,
wouldn't.
haven't you?
Nah, I don't. Hell, to be honest, I ain't got no room to talk right now. Cowboys are injured every position.
That's
Quarterbacks, like
that's never stopped a Cowboy fan
we're
before.
done. Like we're already done. But yeah, it's that same thing. It's that weird sports fan energy. It's like, what are we doing? Like this, not everything that you swipe across is for you. I get you that the algorithm has convinced you or these sites that like we're going to try to show you things that you like or want to interact with, but that doesn't mean you have to. Like they put things in the grocery store right in front of you when you walk in. That doesn't mean you got to take something off there and buy it. You could walk right past it. You might need to do the same thing on social media sometimes because not everything is for you.
This is crazy
And
talk. You're telling me not to eat all the food in front of me, not to comment on people's this
exactly.
is
Like,
insanity.
I'm
This
just
is
saying.
America, come on.
Yeah, right now it ain't gonna get any better. So this just come on, guys. Like just have a little more self-control. That's all I'm asking. Or at least, hell, at least if you're gonna butt in with something useful to say. Like if you're gonna say like, let's use my post as an example, right? If you're like, no, this is dumb. Well, it's like, no, maybe I watched it before, but as I got older, it lost its luster or whatever. All right, cool. So at least there's a reason you're not a fan, and now I understand that, right? At least I can glean something from that response because you put a modicum of effort into it. But man, come on. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, I was grinding some NBA 2K and unlocked they got these double XP coins now. So yeah,
That
okay,
seems good.
yeah, right. Double XP for 2 hours. Where do I sign? This will make grinding so much easier, so much faster. I assume, like most double XP promotions or things you see in game, that this is for 2 hours in game time. So I grinded for about 30, 40 minutes, played a couple of games, went to bed. I'll start again tomorrow. Like, wait, where'd my coin go? It was actually just in game time. 2 hours of once you start that 2 hours, don't go get a sandwich, don't go to the toilet, don't do nothing but play NBA 2K for the next 2 hours. Like, what kind of ridiculous? This is why people don't like you, NBA 2K. This is the kind of stuff where like this makes people hate you,
Dude, they did you like a taxi cab. As soon as you got to
right?
hit that meter.
Yeah. Don't have anything else happen in your life but NBA 2K for the next 2 hours. Who can do that? I mean, you ain't got a wife, you ain't got any responsibilities that might require your attention in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
weird.
weird.
So it
So
wasn't
it
even
wasn't
like
even like
when you logged in or like were like it's just from the time you hit the button,
the
it
time
just
you cash
ran
the coin
120
in.
minutes.
Yeah, so let's say your internet goes out, which, as y'all know that watch the podcast, it happens from time to time. You just screwed. Sorry, you just you SOL if anything happens to interrupt you again. Like I said, might need to go to the toilet for a minute or something.
Damn, how much
Might
were the coins?
oh you unlock them as you grind the ladder, so they're technically free. It costs you
Then
time.
then then that's even worse. At least if they were getting money because they were making you sit down and play, where that's one thing. But they just gave you a
Which I
free
guess
thing.
technically you can buy the pass and unlock everything at once. So I guess in that sense, you can pay for them with money. I didn't, but you can also unlock them for free. And I guess one of the things that people do is, and after learning how they work, I don't think I'd ever do that. But some people will, because I guess through the course of 40 levels, you probably unlock at least 5 or 6 of these. And I think if you do the extreme super hyper battle pass that costs more money, I think you get more stuff. So some people will sit there like, okay, I got 10 coins. I'm cashing them all in at once. I wouldn't do that now because, again, what if my internet goes out? I just wasted all the coins I just unlocked and paid for.
Yeah, like that makes sense anyway. Just to unlock them one at a time. Like, why would you just punch them all up and just go, okay, I got 8 hours? You
Well, I
know,
mean,
like,
if you were able to just use them as in game time, it makes sense. You can go from
yeah,
level
exactly.
2 to level 40. That's what that. But you wouldn't want to do that. If it's actual in game time and your internet goes out. Oops. Or the other day, I think the PlayStation network went down for a minute. A lot of people complained about that. Like, hey, do I get any kind of compensation from Sony or in 2K anybody for cashing this in and then not being able to play for 6 hours?
Yeah, that's
The
rough.
answer so far has been no.
Well, of course, yeah, they're not gonna give you anything else. Yeah, that's a rough one, dude.
That's
I
why people don't
that's
like you, 2K. That's shady.
yeah, it's just honestly, it's just unnecessary. Like what's the benefit? Whether somebody plays 2 hours right then or plays an hour today and an hour tomorrow, like it's effectively the same thing for them.
Well, they want you to stay hooked. They don't want you to stop at all. They want the mentality of where you got to log in every day. And again, to hit 40 levels, you ain't hitting level 40 just playing casually, 10 minutes a day. It's not happening. So they mean for you to, well, you either do that or oops, yeah, I'll admit it. As somebody that knows how scummy they are and writes stories and does soapboxes and podcasts about it. Last time I got to level 36 the last day. I'm like, damn it, I ain't gonna make it. I guess I'm giving them $10 because I would
Yeah,
hate to grind 36 levels and then not get the thing I was trying to unlock.
bruh. I've seen that though. I've seen that happen for people on the battle pass playing team fight tactics.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it on Magic with the battle pass
Right.
or the whatever they call the thing on Magic mastery pass, right on Arena.
Reach in your pocket, turn you upside down and shake the money out your pocket pass. Yeah.
But you know what it is? That's the for real like human FOMO of just like,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's only 2 more levels. It's gonna cost me like $8. Like, yeah, all right. You can have my extra $8 or whatever. And you know you don't need it, but it's that I might as well complete it because I'm here.
Yeah. Or I mean, if you're trying to play somewhat competitively in NBA, you pretty much do need it.
Well, that's fair because the rewards in that one do matter. Like in the other games, are kind of just like
Yeah.
cool extras. But
Because
you're
the
right.
card, like for example, level 40 Tracy McGrady, yeah, he's different. You just win games because okay, I'll figure out who is the weak link on my opponent's team. If they're shooting guard, I'm gonna put Tracy McGrady there. I'm gonna run past their shooting guard every single time until they make a defensive adjustment. And some people don't know how to make those or just don't make those adjustments. Some people quit immediately because they just after the fifth time you dunk on their shooting guard's face, they're like, yeah, you paid to win. I'm out. And yeah, in that case, I essentially did. I didn't beat that person because I'm good at the game. I beat that person because my team, or not even my team, my guard is better than their team.
If nothing else, that's a lesson on how different companies treat those reward passes.
Yep.
You know, they're definitely different company to company. But all right, why don't we get into the what did we learn this week? Because man, there's actually a couple of things here. So I think yours is informative. Mine's a little bit surprising. So
Yep.
what do you got?
It's getting, for especially if you play fighting games, it's getting real 1990s up in this piece. Multiverses just dropped Raven from, of course, the Teen Titans, who are, I say 90s because that's, when the show that I think a lot of people learned about, obviously Teen Titans go all the way back to like 1970s, but yeah, this incarnation I think is more patterned after the 1990s version of Teen Titans. I'm sure at some point we'll get a skin that's Teen Titans Go, because the
Of
show's so
course.
popular, and they'll charge you for that too. Let's see, in WWE 2K24, they just released the WCW pack led by Self High Five Diamond Dallas Page. Feel the bang. That's
Who
got a
has not smells like Teen Spirit as his ring intro.
Yeah, they had to change the music because obviously his old music does sound very much like, speaking of 1990s, it's got DDP, the Great Buddha, which of course comes with the Poison Mist. I use that, and yes, they do. Your opponent's face turns green, and yet
Of
the
course.
referee still can't figure out why he can't see. It's so great. Yeah, DDP, Great Buddha, Flexi Lex Luger, and Mr. Perfect, because he was also in WCW, and then kind of randomly the Iron Sheik, just because they had to get Iron. And I'm not mad about Iron Sheik; they had to get him in there somewhere. Because for people that don't know, Iron Sheik, had a whole other career on social media where he basically kind of reinvented himself, going on YouTube, Facebook, telling these great stories from the old days about how Jake Roberts wouldn't share the cocaine, just crazy random stuff from that era that was
But you know why he
bizarre,
won people over? Because almost every story included F Hulk Hogan.
right?
like, like constantly. He literally would call into a thing to make
Yep.
a statement and then on the way out and be like, an F Hulk Hogan.
I don't know if he was in, because we learned Hulk Hogan is kind of a piece of trash. So I don't know if Sheik was just in character or he legitimately hated Hulk Hogan. He took it to his grave. I guess we'll probably never know, but I'm starting to suspect he probably really did hate Hulk Hogan.
I'm just saying, if y'all don't know, social media, just look up some of his statements, his quotes, the
Yeah.
stuff he's called into radio shows with. Like, the dude was a riot.
And it's kind of wild because just randomly, at first I thought he wasn't in the pack. I had to message the PR person, like, I thought Iron Sheik was in here. For some reason, they just stopped promoting him. I guess maybe they felt like he really didn't fit the WCW. But man, I think they're doing a disservice for
Yeah.
especially people that have watched him. Iron Sheik has fans that have never seen him wrestle just because of how funny he is on
Oh,
social
for sure.
media. Or he was on you watch it, speaking of 1990s, Jerry Springer one time, and the guy that the girl is cheating on her boyfriend with is Iron Sheik randomly, and he goes again, always a character, always being an Arabian stallion, and Hulk Hogan, just always. And then Mortal Kombat, speaking of super 1990s stuff, they are adding, or in believe November 19th, they're adding Ghostface from the Scream franchise. So yeah, very, of course, all his moves very knife based.
Of course.
So
Why
yeah,
wouldn't they be?
they know who their audience is. It's crazy, back in the day, these games were appealing, trying to appeal to 14, 15-year-old dudes. Now they're doing everything to appeal to 40 or 50-year-old dudes like us, because everything
Though,
old is new again.
that's one of those things that I don't think we talk a lot about. And just gaming and nerd hobbies as a whole is our generation kind of grew up with it. So they were marketing to us when we were younger, but now we're older and have the money we can spend on things.
Right?
So it's still targeting the same people. They've just gotten older,
Because man,
and
have you seen some of the beat 'em ups that released this year?
no,
There's a Karate Kid one that just came out. There's one for, again, going straight to the 1990s. Obviously, Cobra Kai is still
yeah,
popular, but you're really targeting the 1990s. People that love Karate Kid. There's a Power I mean, they are aggressively targeting our age group. Power
if there's
Rangers, Karate
if they're
Kid,
selling, why not?
right? Of course, Ninja Turtles seem like they drop one every week, and they're always almost good because Ninja Turtles are just designed for 4-player beat 'em up games.
Dude, what's wild is there's been, I think, 6 different versions of Ninja Turtles, and they all sell.
Right?
Like, every generation of Ninja Turtles finds its audience, whether it's kids, older people, hardcore stuff, super light, like, they all have a different feel, and they always find their audience, which is crazy.
For the most part, they are all done really well. I happened to see this last thing. Is it what's the one Seth Rogen did? I forget the title. I think it's
Oh,
the
the
most
recent,
recent.
like, sorta looks like claymation slash
Yeah,
AI kinda, yeah, yeah.
and Ice Cube was the villain. Superfly. I mean, that's
Well,
just
of course.
greatness. That one was really well done. I think they're going to do a sequel because it made a whole bunch of money, and it has again introduced Ninja Turtles to an entirely new generation.
Not even a surprise. But yeah, so artwork, man. There's been a huge increase in Magic art sales. Like I've arguably told people when they said like if you can go all the way back in Magic and you could buy any card or whatever, what would you buy? I told people I wouldn't. I would have just bought the artwork. Like which sounds like a crazy answer to people, but like so much of this artwork once upon a time you could have got for $150,
Right?
$200, whatever. And now even for cards that aren't good, they're just nostalgic, like Crawworm and some of this other stuff. Like those things are selling for 8, 10, 20 grand a piece,
You say,
which
would
is
you have bought the
crazy.
artwork or the rights to the artwork?
Either if I could have got it
Yeah,
affordably,
if you could have got the
the
right.
rights, I know a bunch of them probably wouldn't have given up total rights to it. But if they would have, I would have. But yeah, like I bring this up because we just had Donato Giancola talking about how he didn't want to sign some contracts because you couldn't resell art or prints or whatever and all this stuff. Though it has been confirmed that you can't sell prints of the universes beyond artwork that you do. Which again, that probably has to do with contracts between multiple companies and this, that, and the other and trademarks. So I get it. But apparently you can actually sell the original artwork because we saw from the Storm Secret Lair, the thing that just got recently sold out, that piece was in auction for a week and ended up selling for $30,000. A brand new piece of art. Like just got previewed basically 2 weeks before that. Went up for auction as soon as it was publicly available and everybody knew about it. $30,000. That's huge. And to me that says that you probably had both comic book fans, whether that's Marvel, Storm, X-Men, whatever fans, and Magic fans trying to get their hands on the artwork, which is why it went so high. Now, one, awesome. It means Universe Beyond is appealing to a lot of people. And it got on a lot of radars. And honestly, even better for the artists. Like, good for them. Because now it means if you are getting to do artwork in some of these sets, we don't even know what's going to happen when we get to do stuff for the, what you call the Final Fantasy stuff that's coming. right? Some of those are going to be popular, but that means they can make a pretty big chunk of change, right? Not everything's going to be 30,000, but hell, even if you do a piece and you get to sell it for 10 or 15K or 20K, right? That's a huge boost to your bottom line at the end of the year, which is also kind of cool because it's for artwork they did like a year and a half ago. They just couldn't show it to the public
Yep.
yet. Yeah. So work that's long been done, you get to boost your bottom line later, which is kind of cool. So you get paid on it double time for producing it and then for selling it. So that's actually pretty sweet.
Storm is just one of the perfect characters to do great art and sell great art because, of course, weather control. That classic scene of her, doing lightning bolts or snowstorm or whatever. She's got the white hair, or she loses her pupils when she starts casting magic, and then she's had so many transitions too. She's had the long hair. She had the mohawk at one point. I believe that was during the '90s
Yep.
also. During the Morlock massacre phase, she was the bride of Dracula. I think it was a vampire at one point. Storm has had all
Hey,
kinds of
she was the queen of Wakanda for a couple years.
right.
That
And I
was the
remember
thing.
they did like a whole romance novel and brought in Eric Jerome Dickey to tell the story of Storm and Black. Yeah, so Storm has seen and done some stuff, even among the comic book universe. He's been
I think what helps Storm too, just from a visual standpoint, is she doesn't need an action scene, right? Like if you
yeah,
do Wolverine or Cyclops, or they look better when they're lunging forward or using their power, but like Storm almost like floats into place and sets her
yep,
power up, so you can see the wind and everything going on behind her. Like it just makes for a good piece of art. Like I
right,
would have loved to have had that art. And no way I'm coming out of pocket for 30K,
yeah,
but but if it is sad because they could have sold prints for a couple hundred, I might have taken one,
yeah.
But
And then
yeah,
they always get a great voice actress because she can deliver the dialogue that if anyone other than Storm says it would sound crazy. Like remember one of the X-Men cartoons, they teamed up with Spider-Man Storm through the whole I summoned the lightning and the storm and the wind, a great Storm speech. And Spider-Man just looks like, web shooters get very sticky.
yeah, exactly. Like what else you got?
Yeah.
But I will say this though, this does call into question, did and I don't know, so this isn't like casting dispersion. This is just based on information we know. Did Giancola misinterpret the contract? Or is it possible his contract was different than everybody else?
Yeah, because he did sue them, right? People do.
Yeah, because he said he either sued them or sued Marvel.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I think he'd sued Marvel, but because they were working with Wizards and they'd use a piece of his art, he didn't want to work with them
And
anymore.
hey,
So
everybody that works in any form of entertainment knows everybody don't get the same contract.
I mean, they could have just been being petty. Marvel's like, cool, but he ain't gonna get to sell any artwork outside of the project. Right? Like that. Maybe that's what happened. Like I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, we were told, oh, you're not gonna be able to buy any of this artwork, and then we already see multiple pieces coming onto the market. So something doesn't add up. Something was misinterpreted. Something wasn't correct. Like who knows what the case was. But either way, good for the artist because man, Universe Beyond, there's gonna be a lot more coming, and that could be a lot more money in their pockets. So
Right.
good for
They,
them.
they might have had a better lawyer than he did too. They read the contract.
Yeah, maybe.
All of these are things that are in play dealing with artwork, entertainment.
You're not wrong.
Everybody does not play by the same rules when they're talented.
All right, let's get into a couple of quick topics here. You know how in the past there would be something dumb that happened on Facebook or on Twitter, and then we'd hear about 15 different sites people are migrating towards. And there's been a lot over the years that had come in. Like Hive was a great mobile app. Their problem, they didn't have a actual site, and they couldn't handle all the people that came over. So that bombed out after a couple weeks.
And didn't they get hacked? Were they the ones that got hacked like
I think
right
they
after the
did
migration?
somewhere
Yeah.
along the way. So that was tough because I think their app was at least cool and it was great, but like just they couldn't get their act together. So that died out. Everybody went back to their old platforms, right? We still hear about a bunch of different ones along the way. But then we had that round of them that was like Spoutable, Bluesky, Threads came along eventually. and they're starting to be kind of sticky. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and plant my flag here a little bit, still post over here just in case. Well, we hit another one of those bumps on Twitter, just like we talked about. And it started with Elon Musk making that post about, well, people that you blocked are still going to be able to see your stuff, but they're not going to be able to interact with you and whatever. And it's like, all right, that got people real uncomfortable. Then, of course, politics blew up. So that made people more uncomfortable. And what we're seeing in the Magic community is a bunch of people have started to migrate over to Bluesky. And this is like a real migration this time. This isn't like, all right, let's go over here and try it out. There's 50 or I got 100 followers over there. Like I had about 600. It was a little less than like 580 or so about 10 or 11 days ago. Now I'm at 1.4K. Like people are coming over in large numbers now. So it's becoming a real thing. Now, are they going to choose you that over Twitter? I think to some extent you're still going to have to use Twitter a bit cuz there's still an audience there. How much of it is real people or whatever, how many are bots, that's a whole different discussion. But I will say over on Blue Sky, engagement is good. They have it set. What I like about it is not only do they have it set up where you actually see the things that people you follow post, because that's important, but they have another category. Instead of just having a discover thing, there's one that things that people you follow are following, basically. So conversations they're in or things they find interesting, like you can go check that out and be introduced to stuff that's at least like 1 degree of separation away from you, which is kind of nice because it's not just like random because this is trending. You should see this. It's if it's trending and your people are interacting with it, then you'll probably see it. Well, I'm like, you know what? That's kind of cool. I like how that works because it's still, this is what I'm using it for. These are the people I'm following. Engagement seems good so far. So I'm just like, all right, now we're still at the stage where it doesn't have a bunch of ads on it or whatever, but you can't be naive. That's going to come eventually, right? You get a lot of people on there. They're going to have to pay for servers and all that. And like at some point, now I don't think it'll be the deluge of ads we have on TikTok or not TikTok on Twitter, where it's literally every third post it feels like is an ad at this point, and a bunch of it's junk. It's somebody reselling some stuff from Alibaba on Etsy or whatever, and they have a little video ad or whatever. It's a bunch of that crap, right? It's bad political stuff. People selling AI art T-shirts or whatever because they can't get real people to promote on there anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you'll see some big name crossovers. The real brands that used to promote on Twitter that can't anymore because they don't know what are real views or not, probably will eventually end up on a site like that. But this is the first time I can say in a long time that one of the other social media sites feels like it's actually getting real traction that might actually stick around, might actually be permanent. Now, what does that mean for Twitter in the long run? I don't know. We saw what happened to Tumblr, but even that took a little while, once they changed all the rules and whatever. So, I mean, it might just be more of the same slow death we've had on Twitter for the last like 3 years. You keep seeing the numbers drop. Like, who knows? But right now, I can at least say a large chunk of the Magic community, especially the creator community, is moving to Blue Sky. So if you don't have an account there and you do want to follow Magic stuff, keep up with your favorite creators, you probably want to go over there because I know that the professor's already hopped over there, a bunch of Wizards employees. I saw a Nerd Girl was over there. Just a bunch of people that people follow already have made the jump and are getting a lot of interactions there. So I don't know, man. I'm sure you've heard about all the other websites that never catch on. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
How are you feeling about all this?
I'm not seeing the transition so much for sports gaming, so I guess I'm still on Twitter at least for the time being till I see some more of my community move over there.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the issue too. Is it depends on what your community is because, like you're saying, like you're a lot of stuff you cover is sports related video games, and the sports community right now. Because I do follow some people for like fantasy sports and stuff. Like their stuff's all on Twitter right now, and some of that is company mandated and whatever. I get it, but until they move, if that's the core of the audience, like it's going to be hard to make another platform or another text-based platform,
Yeah.
your main social media hub. And
Fansided Network does have Facebook and Twitter. They said I'm welcome to explore otherwise, but right now where our audience is Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, and
So
that
obviously,
that makes
I'm
sense.
gonna keep paying attention, and all of a sudden, if I see somebody create a whole huge Madden community over there, okay, then I got to look at that.
Oh, and let me put my 2 cents in here too. Like, it's because I know as soon as we post this, somebody's gonna go, "Well, I don't know why people don't use Mastodon." I'm gonna say it right here. F Mastodon. Like that
Okay.
site. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because an average person will not enjoy using that site. Because you can't just like on all these other sites, I can go on, I can set up an account, pick my username, and I'm already ready to start following people and see what I post, right? The problem is with Mastodon, it's broken up in this like Fediverse, and there's all these different like sub servers, but you can see people from the other ones. So I don't know why they're not all on one anyway, because it's stupid. But then you have to like basically like apply to a server effectively on some of them, and then
Like
they
Discord, kind of.
kinda, and then they like approve you or don't, and it's a whole thing. And it's like, why are you making people go through all these hoops and stuff? Like every time a site breaks down, there's always some knuckleheads that are like, everybody should be using Mastodon. Like, there's a reason Mastodon ain't caught on yet. Like, if it's so good, why are people not? Now, don't get me wrong, tech heads and whatever probably love it, right? If you like dealing in Web 3 or Web 4 and all that stuff, and like you're deep, you probably love Mastodon. I get it. But if you're just an average, like your cousin, your mom, the casuals or whatever, they ain't gonna be on Mastodon. There's not. It's too much to navigate and keep up with. Like it's not a fluid, good UI. Like it's just not. Like honestly, part of the appeal to Blue Sky is that it's somewhat like old Twitter, and one of the dudes in charge was one of the C-suite guys over at Twitter. No surprise, right? So he knows what works already. Like
Here's the elevator pitch, guys. Twitter without Elon. Where do we sign?
that's
Where do we
basically
sign
it.
up for that?
That's it though. I mean, the
You
dude
know you
has
done
the
effed up
formula,
with you've effed up when that's the pitch. Yeah, that probably was the pitch.
but it's largely the pitch
Yeah.
though. Let's be real. Like again, don't be wrong, it has some other nice things. Like you can basically your username is like a mini website, sort of the way it's listed. So you could turn it into its own RSS feed and like there's some cool little things you could do, but the average person won't. They're just gonna use it as a text-based social platform. And that's the thing, right? The guys in charge have the formula. They know what the average person likes and wants. They know how to keep it light so it doesn't bog down your device or anything like that if you're using it on your phone. Like they've got that all figured out. That's why people are going to use sites like that and not use Mastodon. I get it. I get some of the benefits as far as security and this, that, and the other. Like that all makes sense. But I've literally, from the time I looked at Mastodon, I tried to tell all my friends, like, people just aren't going to come here. Not soon. Down the road, once people are way more tech savvy and that becomes normal, then like maybe. But I think we're still at least another 10, 15 years away before people really start considering that to be the side of choice. And Blue Sky is just an easy jump. It's literally
Yep.
like, oh, I know how to use Twitter. This is like Twitter Lite. Like I'm just gonna go over there. And it's an easy upgrade. So yeah, if you want to follow all those people, hop on over there because that's where the action is. But yeah, there was a thing you told me about here that I missed, but apparently Tencent wants to potentially buy Ubisoft. Is that what we're hearing?
It's I think it's still in kind of conspiracy stage, but it's an interesting conspiracy. We love those.
Yeah, why not? Let's get I need to get a tinfoil hat that we can wear during the
Right.
videos.
If you're a regular listener, you've heard a little bit or a lot about the whole Assassin's Creed Shadows thing. Especially since Wizards kind of got caught up in it because they attempted to do an Assassin's Creed Shadows set and didn't know that this was going to be a whole boondoggle. But for anybody that hadn't heard, just briefly, Assassin's Creed Shadows is set in a feudal Japan. There is a black man who apparently, depending on who you ask, is or wasn't a samurai that became a huge Gamergate style kerfuffle about whether he was a samurai or not, even though Assassin's Creed has really never pushed itself as anything that seriously, is a documentary. But in any case, a lot of controversy. Also, Star Wars Outlaws came out, didn't hit. So Assassin's Creed Shadows is postponed until 2025 some point. There's a conspiracy theory now that because Tencent is looking at buying at least a part or possibly all of Ubisoft at some point, that Tencent pushed the idea of making this black samurai the main character because they knew how America's, for lack of a better term, lunatic fringe would react to that, and it would tank the stock. So it's plausible, I guess, because if you anybody that has followed American, like I said, Gamergate through now, you can kind of predict how knuckleheads are going to act when you announce a black main character. So I can't say for a fact that Tencent did that, but I can say, looking at the reaction we get every time a character, is race swapped, gender swapped, I can confirm that reaction is predictable. I was
Man,
I was looking at Spider-Man reviews yesterday and end up falling down a rabbit hole where somebody was saying they refused to play Spider-Man 2 because it was too woke. And I was just like, huh?
doesn't it have
What?
Miles Morales' name in the title?
I think that's part of what they hated, that Peter, even though they're not really getting replaced. Both of them, I think, especially I think there are missions where you're welcome to use either character if it's not a story mission. So really, or the story missions, if for some reason you just hate Miles Morales for whatever your reason may be, you literally, I think, only have to do his story. But the rest of the time, if you choose to play Peter Parker, you can play Peter Parker.
Hmm.
But people be weird, It's just
Well, first off, credit for using boondoggle because I don't think anybody north of the Mason Dixon lines ever said that word. So props for that. But it's a good one, right? Like if you're talking about conspiracy theories,
yeah.
we know Tencent's already, I won't say completely crooked, but they're on the edge of crooked.
If
Right?
they end up in charge of Ubisoft, this theory will never die.
Yeah. So I mean, they have at least made themselves enough of a, or at least made themselves the bad guy enough times that it's believable. So this is why
Because
I
they
tell
were they were
people.
trying to kill D&D at one point earlier this year too, right?
Well,
That
they were
intense.
trying to get into D&D because remember they were trying to, I guess, make a deal on behalf of the people that made Baldur's Gate 3 so they get more video
Yeah,
games or something. So this is why I tell people though, if you're going to bring us a conspiracy theory, at least have a plausible thing to it. And this has all the plausible parts,
yeah,
right? Like you got a big company who wants a bigger share, wants to stay in the US market share with a popular game. You have the possibility of buying really a couple of big titles, but you can buy the whole company potentially, or at least commanding shares, if you don't want to buy
right.
the whole thing. There's a company that's struggling due to an issue that maybe was avoidable that they didn't handle very well. So like all the signs are there. It could be. I'm not saying that it is, but I can't hate somebody for bringing it up. It's
It's
plausible.
among the most plausible conspiracy theories I've heard this year. For whatever the most plausible conspiracy theory saying that is, I know that's a small, small task, but maybe we'll keep following it. Maybe it's
I'm with it. Like, because again, we've had episodes before we talked about different conspiracy theories. Like, you know, when you say Australia ain't real or birds are fake or whatever, like those are like, come on, those aren't even plausible, right? But this is one I could get behind. Like, it'll be interesting to see what happens. This is one we kind of have to keep your finger on for the next 6 months or so and see kind of what happens here. Because if news comes out that they're thinking about making a purchase, all right, it wasn't that crazy.
they remind me of the other. I meant to add this to the list, but this is actually the crazy. Did you hear about NetEase?
No,
Apparently, some of their executives and employees got caught money laundering this past week to the tune of I think, like
huh?
about $150 million. So
Oh, so they weren't even just playing. Like they
no, they were. And sadly, people were talking about, yeah, I mean, if you think about all the transactions that go on in a mobile game, God, that is sadly, that's probably, hate to say it, that's probably a good way to launder. We're not trying to put crimes out here for you to do. We're just saying if you want a bunch of transactions that are probably, because again, digital goods essentially don't exist. So that's an area where, so now we're wondering, is Marvel Rivals even going to come out? I love that that's the thing most gamers jump to. Oh my God, is Marvel Rivals coming out?
well, yeah, because like they're attached to the project you've been looking
Yeah.
for. Like you're curious where that is in the pipeline now.
Those crimes are important, but yeah, can I play Loki real soon?
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the other thing. We talked about a lot about Universes Beyond and crossover products and Fortnite and universes and whatever that have all these different characters. Apparently, as it turns out, Hearthstone's about to do it too.
Yeah, I see. Apparently, they are gonna, I guess, add some StarCraft characters to their game, which I guess, again, it doesn't cost them anything because Blizzard's already got the rights to StarCraft, so they don't have to cut a licensing deal for that.
Man, again, I'm on the boat of if your fans like it and they're gonna buy it and they like all your stuff, then you might as well, right? Cross over your brands.
Yeah,
I enjoyed Heroes of the Storm. You
I
got to
did.
play basically a battle arena with literally all the characters that existed, I guess, under the license at the time, which was cool because you got to play with some of the characters from StarCraft. Hell, that's the
Yep.
only reason I know what a Murloc sounds like. That
Right.
or whatever it
Yep.
is that they make, like that weird bubble sound or whatever,
Yep.
because it was in Heroes of the Storm. Like, and then when I eventually played like Hearthstone, I was like,
You're
oh yeah,
used
I
to
know
it
what
at this
this is. This
point.
is one of those
Yep.
weird things from the other game.
Some of their cards will be like "Murder Girl,"
Yeah, exactly.
So to me, this is an act. Yeah, because you're probably like, wait, how can you be opposed to Universe Beyond over here, but like it with Hearthstone? And Hearthstone is a game that really, from the beginning, has never taken itself very seriously. They have Indiana Jones cards. They've almost everything. Not almost everything, but there's a lot of pop culture parodies. So they started out kind of. They always leaned more toward the kind of Magic Unglued. In fact, you're in the product, it
Kinda.
kind of reminds me
Kinda.
of part of Hearthstone to see if you could break the game and play the biggest, most ridiculous horde of Murlocs. So yeah, this and right now this is going to be a mini set, but obviously I think if it sells, they're going to probably do more.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it, honestly. I think, well, first off, they already own all the license anyway, so it's not like it's going to cost them any more money or whatever, right? Except for developing the cards or whatever that they would just be spending on cards anyway. These just
Yeah.
happen to have this other
And
property.
obviously, if it doesn't make money, they won't do it again. But I bet it's going to make at least a fair amount of money.
Yeah, but like, imagine if you had a set where you could play with like Zerglings or whatever as an option,
Yeah,
or whatever they called
I bet that
their
will be a thing.
yeah, the Terrans, and you could make a tank or something as a card or
Yep.
whatever, right? Like, is it a little bit anachronistic? Like, yeah, kinda, but it's still just a card game, man. Like,
And Hearthstone really has, people have criticized Magic for like Thunder Junction is, hey, wizards in hats. But again, that has been Hearthstone's thing pretty much since its inception. The set will be like, hey, this is the Wild West set. This is the set where everybody's a slime monster, just whatever, whatever thing.
but again, this is a thing we're seeing everywhere. Like saying Mortal Kombat's doing crossover characters. You know, um the the murder game that you're chasing around with like the different horror
Dead by
characters. Yeah,
Daylight. Yep.
Dead by Daylight's got a bunch, right? Universe is literally the whole Warner Brothers universe. It doesn't matter if it's a person or a cartoon or whatever, right?
Right.
So this is a thing we keep seeing, and I think we're just going to see more of it. I don't.
Oh, and by the way, Wizards, Conan or it's going to be in Mortal Kombat. So hey, the license they're ready to deal. The license is out there.
Even if you don't get a full like 300 card set, a Conan Secret Lair or even like a 4 Commander deck set or whatever could be kind of cool.
Feels like if Lord of the Rings can be a set, Conan can be a whole set. Because it again it's magic, it's wizards, it's warlocks,
Oh, sure.
it's
I just don't
barbarian
know.
smashing things.
I just don't know. Well, it depends on what the license probably costs or whatever too. But I just think the ceiling was much higher for Lord of the Rings. I felt like, as far as like brand recognition and all that other stuff. But like for old heads, Conan's probably kind of cool.
Well, I mean,
Right?
Lord of the Rings is what 30 years old at this point.
Yeah, but they've also had blockbuster movies and
But
questionable
those
TV
movies are but
shows.
those movies are 20 years old. I
Sure,
think they just celebrated so yeah.
but I'm just
Conan's
saying,
had a movie since Lord of the Rings has. Jason Momoa was Conan a few years ago.
and I gotta tell you, I don't even remember that. Like, I'm not even lying. Like, you said it, and then I paused for a second because I was like, "Are you just messing with me? That really happened?" Because like,
That
I
happened.
for real don't remember that at all. Like, now I have to see. Now I have something I have to go look up because I for real didn't know that was a thing. Though to be fair, I do like Jason Momoa though.
Yeah.
The dude
And
seems
I
kind of
know
cool.
we're old, but yeah, I think Two Towers I remember writing the story about Two Towers. They just celebrated its 20th
Oh sure,
anniversary.
but
So
hell, each of
it's
those
been a
movies
minute.
had damn near $2 billion, I think, or something.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they made a dumb amount of money off those.
And the Arnold Conans made a bunch of money. Admittedly, Jason Momoa's didn't do, didn't do nearly as well.
But yeah, I think there's at least some opportunity there to do something. You might as well. I mean, hell, if you're gonna do the Princess Bride, you know what I
Right.
mean. You might as
That
well
one is
see if.
also, what is that? Probably at least 30 years old.
Oh, that's got to
Maybe
be.
40. You have
Yeah,
to
it's
have
got to be because that came
1980s,
out in the
right?
'80s.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, that's a while ago. But yeah, man, let's have a quick talk about a fun thing here on the dinner table. And we've talked before, I'm pretty sure, about kind of like the early games we play with our family, tabletop games and stuff. But I don't think we've ever answered this question. So, what is the first video game that you remember putting a lot of time into, or like your big discoverability that you dedicated a bunch of effort to?
God. I mean, I was there at the beginning. We hadn't in televisions. It was probably literally like boxing. That's all they call it. They didn't have cool names like Punch Out
I
or
don't know.
Ring
They
Kid.
were just like whatever the thing. It was like
Yeah,
tennis.
yep. In
Like,
television, exactly. In television, tennis. In
yep.
television, basketball. It was one of those.
Man, I don't. Oh,
Is it that meme about don't cite the dark magic to me? I was there and it was written.
yeah,
That's me with
exactly.
video games. So yeah.
Like I remember playing some of those on like Atari and stuff, but like
So probably
I
the first game I put a bunch of time into, that any any of our younger folks would remember was probably Pac-Man.
man, do you remember that game on Atari that was like you could be tanks or airplanes?
Combat.
Yeah, combat.
Combat.
I
Yeah, I
played a
do.
lot of combat,
I
which is
did. That definitely was
oh my god. And that in
probably played
hindsight,
more combat than basketball now that I think about
yeah,
it.
I played a lot of combat. I think the first what I would call like modern-ish game that I played that I spent a long time on was probably Dragon Warrior on
Yeah.
Nintendo. And I think it's because it was one of the few games I got as part of Christmas that year when I
Yep.
actually finally got a Nintendo, which is like, I don't know, like the third year it was out or something.
Yeah.
But I remember playing it and I didn't even really, I don't think, grasp the concept of RPGs at the time. It was just like this weird adventure game. And I'm
That
just
was a
like,
lot of people's first RPG,
yeah.
really.
So I'm like, I'm just going to walk around and like, and you had slimes and you had to kill the slimes as your
Yep.
first bad guy or whatever, right? And then I remember just adventuring to see how far I could go. And then I come across, I think it was like the golden slime or something, or like the
Right.
platinum slime, whatever it was. And I went to hit it, and it's like, you did 1 damage. And I was like, what? Because
Right.
normally you smash slimes, it's like 30 damage, right? And you're like, wait a minute. Then the slime attacks you, you lose 45 hit points. I'm like, whoa, wait. These things only hit for like 5. Why is this one
That's
so damn?
when that's when PowrDragn learned about levels.
Yeah, but that was like, there's a reason I'm not supposed to be in this part of the map. Got
Yep.
it. I'm gonna venture my butt all the way back and I'm gonna work my way up. The hard lessons learned, but that's how you
Right.
figure it out. But yeah, that's probably the first one I think I can say really dove in and like, okay, I'm gonna come back after school, I'm gonna play an hour or two, and do that for like 30 days or 40, however long it
Mhm.
took or whatever. So that's probably the one for me. Because
Oh
I'm with
God,
you. Mhm.
did you remember Mousetrap?
Man, the board game?
No, there was a video
Okay.
game I think it was
Because I
called
was gonna
about.
say the board
It
game that
basically
you spend
it
30
basically
minutes just setting the thing up.
it was Pac-Man only instead of ghosts and Pac-Man. It was basically a mouse trying to run away from a cat. They just stole
Okay.
Pac-Man and just made it Tom and Jerry. And then if I remember correctly, the mouse could eat a bone or something and turn to a dog and then go eat the cat.
Oh,
They
that was
straight
weird.
stole Pac-Man and just put a different theme on it. They probably got sued, but I guess I guess my cousin got totally not Pac-Man for his birthday one year.
Oh,
It was probably $5 to tell you. We played the best out of Mousetrap, man.
man. Okay, now there wasn't. I don't know why I just remember this. There was an Atari game I did spend a lot of time on, and that was Cubert.
That's a good one.
I don't know if people really know, but Cubert was basically a puzzle game where you had a
Yeah.
tower and you're trying to change the tiles to all one color every time you hit one.
Yep.
But if you hit the same one again, it changes back to the old color. and you had obstacles and other monsters chasing you on it or whatever. That was a fun and hard game, but that's probably as far as Atari. That's probably the one I spent the most time really trying to beat, because like you didn't really beat combat. You sort of just beat the other person you're playing against or whatever per
right.
level. But that one's
Or how
probably the one I
some of the
spent the
game,
most time on.
like Donkey Kong, you would get so far the game would just start running out of memory and everything
Yeah, that was just
starts
weird.
breaking because they never meant for anybody to still be sitting there after 12 hours.
Yeah, so those are probably it for me. I think probably Cubert, but the first more modern style one I would say for me is probably Dragon Warrior.
You remember the cartoon?
For Cubert,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't good.
No, I think because Happy Days was popular, they made the extremely weird decision for Cubert to be set at a high school in the 1950s.
Yeah, that's true. That probably makes sense. I hadn't really made that correlation before, but
I guess when somebody told them, "Hey, we got to make a cartoon about Cubert," and you're like, "But the plot of you just how? It's just how?"
yeah.
And I guess they were Happy Days fans and said, "The hell with it, we're making Happy Days as a Cubert cartoon."
Yeah,
All
Cubert was
right,
weird anyway because it was like this round ball that had like a snout that he could shoot stuff out of. Like it
yeah,
was a
it was
weird character
just
anyway.
so bizarre.
But anyway, now that we reminded people about how old we are, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
All right, I am on Twitter, Twitter X, or whatever it is this week, Instagram, YouTube, and you can read my writing over at App Trigger.
And you can find me everywhere, PowrDragn, PowrDragn. And obviously, if you follow me, there's going to be a lot of Foundation stuff over the next couple weeks. And I'm going to be doing some cool deck building, kind of self help sort of videos over the next month or two. So you probably want to follow for that. But as always, wherever you're watching or listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Remember to take care of yourselves and your family. And most importantly, be awesome and awesome to each other.